Good morning. So, let's talk about a concept of, the solenoid. Okay. Now, solenoid, is part of the chapter which you study, in magnetism, right? So the magnetic effects of current and the fact that a magnet, kind of is produced when current passes through a conductor. Now, if you take a single loop, which is something like this, and you make current go through this, the amount of magnetic field you can produce is very limited. Okay, if you have a single loop. Okay, so the magnetic field due to a single loop is very small. Is very small because your number of turns, is just one, and it's dependent on obviously the radius and the amount of current you pass through this. Okay. Now, the way engineers overcome this problem of low magnetic field is by introducing a structure which is cylindrical and is organized in a helix pattern. So, instead of having one turn, what they do is they produce a lot of turns, and these are the turns that go into making of a structure which you call as a solenoid. So a solenoid is essentially cylinder, right? So this looks like a cylinder, and the way to organize the electrical current carrying loops is helix. So you proceed forward and the structure you get is a cylinder. And the way to organize this is essentially helical, okay? So this is helical essentially. And it is definitely carrying some current. And so this is your current, okay? Now, this structure, which is a single circular loop, produces very weak magnetic field. But if you have a structure like this, which is called as a solenoid, this produces very strong magnetic field, but in very limited region of the solenoid. So, in this region, which is away from periphery of the solenoid. So this is your periphery, and this is a center of the solenoid. You get a strong magnetic field in the center of the solenoid. So the objective of solenoid is to produce, small, strong magnetic field. Okay, the objective is to produce strong magnetic field. All right, in a very small region. That's the purpose of the solenoid. So if you draw a graph, on the position versus magnetic field, you would probably get something like this, right? So the magnetic field is varying, but is very high in the center of the solenoid, right? So this is your position with respect to some center. Maybe this is the center, and you look on the left-hand side, right-hand side, the magnetic field drops, and the magnetic field is very high in the center of the solenoid. And so this region is of tremendous application, right? The region of high magnetic field, probably something like this, where you get a very high magnetic field, is of interest to engineers. Now, MRI, so you understand, right? So you are going to use multiple loops, and use of multiple loops organized in this manner produces a very high magnetic field in limited region. Okay, so this is the strong magnetic field is in limited region, and this is what is exploited. Well, we could have generated a lot of magnetic field here also by increasing the current or by increasing the number of turns, but if you do this, you keep the current same, and but what you do is have more turns, you still are able to get more magnetic field without increasing the current drastically. So you get a tremendous amount of magnetic field in a small region. just by introducing more number of coils. So you don't want to play with current, right? Current, you don't want too much. What you do is instead, have a helical structure, which is like a cylinder, okay? Now, if you look into this, the engineers use this tremendously, in the construction of MRIs. So those of you, who have been to a diagnostic lab, would have seen magnetic resonance imaging. So the magnets of an MRI are completely based on solenoid. That's the importance of solenoid. And if you see your car or a vehicle, the electrical system, the electrical system, of your car, is also based on the concept of solenoid. So this structure, the way you organize these loops is a helical structure. The aim is to get very high magnetic field in a limited amount of time, limited region. The applications are pretty, useful. So, study solenoid very carefully and understand, how the magnetic field is going down and what is a, mathematical representation of magnetic field. This was just a conceptual discussion on, getting you friendly with the idea of solenoid and how does it compare with a single loop, circular loop, which is not capable of producing very high amount of magnetic field. This is a nice way to produce a high magnetic field in limited region. So I hope you like my video, and I thank you for your attention. Have a good day.